Oh, it's recording.
Yeah, and now I can record now too. So give me a sec, and let me record. Let me see if this lets us both do it.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, we both got it. All right.
All right, let's do this. Let's just start right now, man. Let's start your show.
Let's go for it. All right. So I'll introduce you. I'll do our little intro, and then we'll get into it. All right. Is that good?
All right.
All right. So welcome back, everyone. This is episode 49 of the Amateur Investors. I've got Adam Meister on the show. I guess a little background on him. Adam has been in Bitcoin for almost a decade. He purchased 2 Bitcoin in 2013. I'm not sure what the price was then. I think it looking like $600 or $200 or somewhere around there. $600. Soon after, he made his first video on his world famous BitcoinMeister Bitcoin channel. Adam has been part of over 2,000 Bitcoin-related YouTube videos, has been a very popular Twitter feed, also at Tech Balt or Tech Baltimore for short. He's known for having the best guests in the space on audio and video versions of his One Bitcoin show. He knows the strongest of hands from around the globe and has been a Bitcoin speaker at events or on just about every continent. He has sold his house and travels around the world, living the Bitcoin lifestyle, going from one Airbnb to another. His straight talk and catchphrases are legendary. He's never sold a Bitcoin for fiat and continues to buy and hold to this very day. Adam stays familiar with all the current events in the Bitcoin space and comes up with his own very unique takes that often go against the status quo. There's nothing generic about Adam. You will always get original content and ideas from him. Adam, thank you for coming on the show, and I hope that was a good introduction.
Dude, be a unique beast. Pound that like button, everybody. I am pumped for this, Chris, dude. Oh, man. I'm so happy to be here today.
Yeah, so I'm so happy to have you. So pretty crazy. I've been going through a lot of content over the weeks. My Bitcoin journey personally, my record listeners know, I started really like last June. My claim to fame is 3 days after Michael Saylor bought. He bought like June 4th. I bought like June 7th. He didn't make the announcement until August, so I didn't know he made the buys. But yeah, I was going down the rabbit hole, listening to We Study Billionaires with Preston Pish, listening to Alex Svetsky's podcast, listening to the Bitcoin Matrix podcast with Cedric Young. And no joke, I listened to your episode probably 2 or 3 days ago. I was driving back from work, and I was like, wow, this dude is awesome. I would love to interview him one day. Lo and behold, our sponsor is CoinBeast. So John from CoinBeast recommended you. And I'm like, oh, Adam from CoinBeast. And then I'm like, oh, wait, that's Adam Meister. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, I get the privilege to interview this dude. Thank you to John. So I am ecstatic to have you on the show. Thank you for coming together.
Yeah, man. CoinBeast. Be a unique beast. John gave me this shirt, in fact. John gave me this. This is a CoinBeast one-of-a-kind shirt. Maybe someone should make an NFT about it. I told John he's got to sell these things, man. People want this. Look at this. That unique beast. What's that animal called? The hedgehog?
The armadillo?
No. It's
the panda? No.
It's the specific. I can't think of its name now. It doesn't matter. But what was the question? What was the exact question there? I've lost track of.
Yeah, no. So I was just kind of saying how I listened to. I was so excited to listen.
Oh yeah. I mean, you listen to Svetsky. That's a hardcore guy. You're freaking hard. If you knew Svetsky, dude, he's shut out of Australia right now. He can't get back. I got to meet him in person. He's a great guy. Alex is a hardcore Bitcoiner, has been on my show many times. So you definitely, I mean, dude, you've been in this longer than a lot of people. Trust me, it's been a year. It's been 15 months, 16 months for you, whatever it's been.
Since last June. So yeah, 15 months.
You become an OG very quick. When I bought my first Bitcoin back in 2013, I was like, I'm so new, and now I'm like a great grandfather. So you'll be grandfatherly soon. People come and go from this space all the time. So I'm really happy to be here, and you're definitely in motion if you've already met John from CoinBeast and everything. And let's do this, man. I'm excited. Any questions? Throw them all out there for me.
Yeah. So while listening to Cedric's podcast, I got a little bit of your upbringing, but I guess I want you to say, what's your upbringing? What's your family? Where'd you go to college? And then kind of what led you to Bitcoin ultimately? I know that's a lot thrown at you, but if you want to just give me a synopsis of your life.
I grew up in the suburbs of Baltimore, in a typical middle-class Jewish family of Baltimore County. We were the middle of the middle, and my parents, God bless them, they did sent us to private school, everything that you're supposed to do in suburbia of Baltimore. And it was a beautiful experience. I went to private school, and then I did what I was supposed to do as the good young Jewish son. get into the best freaking college possible for a B student. And that was, and somehow Washington University in St. Louis let me in their doors. I don't know why. I did well in the SAT. That's probably why I did okay on the SAT. Better than all B. I mean, my grades at private school weren't that great, as I alluded to. And I was just living the typical middle class, not thinking very much, partying in college. I made it to WashU, so I must be awesome, and let's party, and I'll get a great job just because I went to WashU. And well, afterwards, you know, you actually have to work to get a job. You mean they just don't come to you and beg you to come work for them? Although you probably think that because you work so hard in high school, you're like, oh, everything's guaranteed after this. I'm going to the good school. Everything's going to work out for me. Now, especially this was a while ago. Now it's terrible. I mean, like you go to college and you're in horrifying debt, and no one's really. It's really hard to get a job now. Apparently, well, certain types of jobs. Excuse me, because in fact, because of the dislocation that we're currently going through, it's probably, we'll get into my prerogative of going to college now. Back then, it was a good idea. It was good with networking. I made a lot of friends. I had a lot of great experiences and everything like that. And I got into making web pages about the Baltimore Ravens. I love the Ravens. I love the Orioles, and typical Baltimore kid. But that was a good thing. What I did on my free, besides drinking and partying, making the web pages was a good idea. Teaching myself HTML was a good idea because I was able to. WashU didn't get me these jobs. I mean, if you go to the Career Resource Center at WashU, you can work for Anderson Consulting, you can work for Budweiser, you can work for all these huge, and I didn't want to do it. At that point, I did know, these long titled names. I was a marketing major, but I love the internet. And I thought there should be some, the internet is growing. There should be internet jobs, not Budweiser jobs, not Anderson Consulting jobs. So I had to do my own research. And I got a job in New York, and then in Silicon Valley, and it was fun. It was a lot of good learning experiences out there. These are two most expensive places to live in the United States, and back then they were awesome places. Now they're totally locked down, and you're like a slave. I mean, it's horrible. It's in Manhattan and San Francisco now. It's a freaking joke. I mean, then it was San Francisco, so beautiful. Palo Alto, beautiful. Manhattan, beautiful. But afterwards, I decided I wanted to work for myself eventually, and because I felt my bosses weren't as internet sophisticated as I was. They were kind of stuck, even though they were at .coms, they were kind of in traditional mode still. And I guess I'm a free spirit. I've always been a unique beast, even though I've been, I've done some pretty mindless things in the past. I followed the crowd in the past, but I've always been a little different. I did get into the .com thing when everybody was working for Anderson and Budweiser and all that stuff. So I wanted to work for myself. I grew tired of my bosses, and it's kind of reminiscent of now. There are some people that joined the space, the cryptocurrency space, the Bitcoin space, that are still trying to do things the former way. And because we have such a big social media presence out there, those people get attacked now, so they quickly change their ways. But back then, you could carry on the old ways until you were just a total failure. But anyway, I left the old ways totally. I became my own boss. I did my own little internet company. I got into I made up an idea called Technology in Baltimore, Tech Balt, where I wanted to get technology people to buy up a bunch of houses on one block in Baltimore, and it kind of morphed into just like we're gonna buy a bunch of houses in a bad neighborhood and live in them. It won't have anything to do with technology, but we'll still keep the name Tech Balt. It made some news. I got into community activism stuff. I partied a lot. It was fun. A lot of women, a lot of drinking. But I really learned how it all worked. How corrupt these politicians were, and how bad Baltimore City could be, how dirty it could be. But it gave me a lot of freedom, and I worked for myself. I just made my own schedule. It was awesome. It really was awesome. And eventually, though, we had the economic crisis in 2008, 2009, and there were all these doomers out there. And I must say, I was different than most people in that I did not really follow traditional economic media back then. I was following like the doomer media, which wasn't the best thing to do, but it did open my mind to new perspectives, like Doug Casey. And through the doomer media, the people that just kept on saying the world is going to end, we're having this economic crisis, I found out about Bitcoin. So that's my long journey to Bitcoin. That's where I'm from. Of course, my Baltimore family did not like me living in the ghetto. So when I left the ghetto of Baltimore, they were happy about that. I told them about Bitcoin. They didn't really get it. Told my friends about Bitcoin in 2013 at a Thanksgiving party, right after I bought my first two. They didn't do it. I kept reminding a couple of them in 2016. They still, didn't get it. I kept on buying and buying throughout 2013, 14, 15, 16. And so I just can do whatever I want to now. So when you get into a position like me, you're in the Bitcoin overlay. You can say whatever you want. So on my Twitter, I don't care politically what I say. Fitting in is overrated. No one can cancel me because I've never sold a Bitcoin for fiat, never. Again, I didn't get disappointed when Bitcoin. I started buying Bitcoin when it was 600, then it was 1,000 at the end in December of 2013, and then it crashed to 200, 400, 3. I didn't, I kept on doing it. I kept on making the shows. It's all, the proof is in the freaking pudding, people. You watch, go to disruptmeister.com. You'll see I kept on making the shows. I kept on buying, and that's
here we are now. Yeah, exactly.
Here we are talking about it, and it's. You know what I wanted to say? You bought on the day that Michael Saylor bought.
Or a couple days after.
We did not know that was going on. When the story came out in August or September, it was in August of 2020, I was in Asheville, North Carolina. And I said right then, I didn't even know his name yet. It was just the story was MicroStrategy has bought Bitcoin for its treasury reserves or whatever. And I said right then, this is the biggest story of the freaking year. We've been waiting for this. This is one of the steps. Because before then, I could literally always say, it's still early. It's still early. You can get in. So at that point, it was not super early anymore. Things had changed at that point. Like, it's not super early anymore. 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, it was super early, relatively. But it's not, it's still early though. It's still pretty early, but you see that, the bell curve chart. And
the adoption curve chart, yeah.
Yeah, the adoption curve chart, and it's we've moved along a little bit, but we're still, still low, so still pretty much toward the beginning. So you got in at a great time. It's fine, and yeah, that's where we are today. I haven't changed my tune. It's just at first when I got in though, I did think you were supposed to do something with your Bitcoin. But I quickly learned you do nothing. You just buy and hold. It's you see this thing. It's like this awesome new technology. I got interested in it because it was when I should have said this, when I got into alternative websites and Doug Casey, alternative economic websites. That's when I learned about anarchy. They don't necessarily need a government per se. I definitely had never opened my, even though I was a unique beast. It never occurred to me that government was just not necessary. Like, I just thought government was very important until 2008 and 2009. So that was a very big turning point in my career. Definitely back then. That's one of the big things I got out of the economic crisis. That government intervention is horrifying, and so I loved when I heard about, and I always loved the internet. So internet money, non-governmental money, this thing sounds awesome. I didn't yet grasp unconfiscatable, but I love the freaking unconfiscatable. That's a very important part of it to me too, and decentralized. That you can't take it away. No one can change it all. I did like the uninflatable aspect of it too. I did understand I wasn't a conspiracy buff in terms of like blaming everything on the Federal Reserve, but I did understand that the United States dollar keeps on printing, and this thing, they say there's only gonna be 21 million. So I was like, this is it, man. I know this is gonna be. And when the internet revolution started, I was a little too young, and I was like, I regretted that I couldn't get all those .com stocks and buy Yahoo and buy well, not Yahoo, but buy Google when it was, coming out. And I was like, this is my freaking chance. You only live freaking once. And I really ramped it up in 2016. I really ramped up my buying in 2016. I'm like, I'm not losing this once in a lifetime opportunity. I thought, there was only going to be one internet revolution. Now we're getting a second one 20 years later, and I'm not a kid, and I can do this. And I did it. I didn't just talk the talk. I freaking walked the walk. And some people still can't get that concept. Some people still don't understand that I really did it. But some people still love to philosophically theoreticize about why they shouldn't buy Bitcoin. I'm like, you freaking know coin. I mean, you come up with every freaking excuse possible. Just freaking do it. Like Michael Jordan, okay? Pound that like. If you're going to keep on making excuses, you're going to have fun staying poor, I guess. And my moment was definitely 2016 when I really ramped it up. I'm like, this is it. I mean, what else are you going to do? I'm not just, why have a bank account? Why have money in my bank account when, I know it's inferior to Bitcoin? So, I went all in, to say the least, in 2016.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that couldn't be more perfectly said. I mean, you've got people like Jamie Dimon. This is like, I didn't even plan this. He just said this a few hours ago that he's like, Bitcoin's worthless. And obviously he doesn't get it and he doesn't see it.
Oh, yeah, he's a very smart man who might be saying that. I think he owns some. He's gone back and forth a little bit. And guys his age who are gold bugs and stuff, they say things like that, and they're not buying Bitcoin. I think he's buying Bitcoin.
He's just trying to put, fluff his bags basically before he makes a full announcement. You think?
Yeah, who knows? He's a smart guy, but he's going to lead a lot of people because people put people like him on pedestals. Okay, so they're going to be people. Well, Jamie Dimon said it sucked, so that reassures their previous opinion. When in fact, I think he's buying it. I mean, he said a lot of bad things about Bitcoin in the past, and there were some recent times he said some okay things. My advice to everyone with Jamie Dimon: don't put him on a pedestal. Don't worry about what that dude has to say. Okay, just like you can't worry about China FUD. How many times have I lived through China outlawing Bitcoin, man?
It gets old at this point.
It gets real old. It's like so frustrating. It's unbelievable. And now I would just assume this has to be the last time. but stranger things. I've seen stranger things in space. I mean, that people fall for. People just got to use their freaking heads. All right, sorry. Continue.
No problem. I think it was very interesting that you said, I know we're a little bit in an age gap. I think you graduated in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Who knows when I graduated? It's a secret. But yes, there's probably an age gap between us. Yeah.
But
when did you graduate?
I graduated college in 2015, high school in 2011.
Okay, so yeah, you're younger than me, obviously. Yes, you're younger than me.
But I've definitely felt, I mean, at least I was an engineer by degree, and I think that degree still has value, but it's diminishing very rapidly, like most college degrees. I think we're getting to a point, though, we're seeing where the majority of degrees don't guarantee a job, where maybe in the early 2000s, late 90s, that was, you go to college, you get a degree, and then that kind of sets you up for getting a job. But we're seeing that, exactly like you said, you did a lot of HTML on the side and, in your classwork. And I think you made a great point in your episode with Cedric in the Bitcoin Matrix podcast. You were saying you were a junior in college and one of your friends, a very smart buddy of yours, was asking why are you a Democrat? And your response is like, oh, well, my parents are Democrats. And you just thought that was a good response. And I don't blame you and I don't blame anyone. And this isn't about Democrat or conservative, because I fully expect a kid that's more conservative to say, oh, my parents are conservatives. That's why I do it. You kind of said smart kids don't think. And I thought that was pretty ingenious of how you said that, because it's like you're going to high school, you get your middle school, elementary school, primary school, all the way up to college. You're like, oh, I'm smart. I'm always getting grades. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get there. But they're just teaching you to regurgitate what you're learning. Okay. They're not teaching you to think on your own critically. And I think I'll let you comment on that, basically.
In school, in classes, that is all I did was regurgitate. That is all I freaking did. Now, outside, thank God I got into HTML and I used my brain, okay? So I could use I always developed life hacks and stuff. So in life, I used my brain, but in school, to get into WashU, at WashU, it was just regurgitation, man. Now, there were some things that stuck with me. There were some marketing things that stuck with me. Just like, really all you have to know about marketing is brand awareness. That's all. That's all it is brand awareness. If you grasp that concept, that's all. I mean, if you're a successful marketer, people know what your brand is, and you just keep on pounding it into them. Brand awareness, So all you marketing people out there, come to the cryptocurrency space, come to the Bitcoin space. There are not enough marketing people here. They're vilified here. It's unbelievable. Adam Meister's got a freaking marketing degree from WashU, and I don't give a darn, and I'm doing great in this space. I mean, marketing dudes can grasp technology, trust me. And Bitcoin does need some help marketing itself. And it's since it's decentralized, it's up to people coming in and doing it. There's no there's no Vitalik to say, okay, you guys are going to be in charge of marketing. Or, I mean, there's plenty, Dash, they hired a marketer. And I said back then in 2016, that was an incredible move. Amanda Johnson they hired. It was very good. It pumped the price for a long time. But brand awareness is very important. The thing with Bitcoin's brand awareness, though, is it is the brand of cryptocurrency. When I was in Hong Kong, when it was free still in 2017, free Hong Kong, I was at a Bitcoin event there, and someone was telling me like, yeah, I bought the Litecoin version of Bitcoin. Like instead of saying the Litecoin version of cryptocurrency, he said Bitcoin is synonymous with cryptocurrency. So it's got the brand awareness definitely already, but still reaching out to all sorts of people, dealing with some of the FUD. And I'm doing that just by being a personality in the space. You are marketing, and I think a lot of tech personalities might not like that, but it is true. But no, my marketing degree did not guarantee me anything, and I thought there was a point in my life that I thought it should guarantee me a great job. And I think a lot of people are just like, they work so hard, they regurgitated everything, they followed the plan, they paid so much money for this degree at a top 20 school, and maybe it was in like something like useless, much worse than even marketing. And marketing's useful, but art history, I should be hired by the best museum, and they're not. They're working at Starbucks or something. So, but people can't be trees. They can't be stuck in what they think the degree said they should be. They should be able to move. They should be able to learn something. They shouldn't be above learning something like HTML and now we're in this golden age where if you just learn how to send a Bitcoin and how to store a Bitcoin, I had to show like the 6 skills. I don't even know what they are now. The skills, how to set, and you're way ahead of, you could be hired so easily in this space as like a 17-year-old kid without a college degree. That's the awesome thing. So right now, college degrees in this space, not necessary at all. Not necessary at all. You could get a job real quick. And I would like to, we could talk about this, maybe I'll talk about it on a show in the future. Like, I want to do an experiment, like get some kids in college and just say, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm going to get you a job, and see, and give them the choice to either quit their job or get the job or quit college. Like, make the decision right there. But right now, it's easier said than done. I have said that I think college is a complete waste right now because you're paying $50,000 to stay in your mom's basement. It's like some of the colleges won't let you on the campus anymore, right? Or like you got to get something shoved up your nose or shoved up your butt or shoved in your arm or whatever. And it's insane. You can't have fun anymore. You can't party. You can't drink. Maybe some colleges you can, but so I mean, I see things from WashU that get emailed to me because they want money from me, and because I'm an alum and everything, and it's like disgraceful to think that they're such CUCKs. It's unbelievable. I won't give them another freaking penny, and I have a lot more pennies than I used to back in the day when I was there, obviously. But so yeah, well, so right now, and you're not guaranteed a job. Like, jobs in the normie space are kind of hard to get. Like, unless you want to work, retail or something. And who wants to do that? I mean, it's all right if you want to, but if you're paying $50,000 a year, you don't want to work at Target. You really don't want to work. I don't think you do. I don't think you do. So why go through that nightmare? But the thing is, everyone wants to fit in, and fitting in is going to college. And even though it kind of sucks now, and then so it's easy for me to say, a guy who had a lot of fun in college, who went through college, who got a job out of college, it's easier for me to say, hey, young person, don't do this. They're going to say, but you did it, Adam. So I want to give them really make it obvious. Like, here, this is a specific job you can get right now. Is this better than what you're going through right now? But that's another project. I got all these project ideas in my mind. You only have so much time. I'm never bored. that's something people should take away from this. Never be bored. You get one life like this on this earth, okay? You should. I hear people saying they're bored all the time. My friend just told me. My friend told me. He's a good friend of mine. He's watched all 40 seasons of the Survivor during this lockdown. Unbelievable. That's that's boredom. I mean, that's like it was locked. So people should never be bored. People should be doing productive things. There's so much to learn out there in this space, and beyond this space even. I mean, the internet provides so many learning opportunities. But I hear people all the time saying they're bored, they're this, they're that. I don't get it.
Yeah, so I'm the oldest of four. So my younger sister, she's a junior in high school. And she's been saying for at least 2 years. So she's 16 now. When she was like 14, she's been saying she doesn't want to go to college. And both my parents have masters in computer science. Me and my siblings, my brother's about to graduate. Me and my sister both graduated. And while we really value it, my parents and I could not support her. We love her and we're supporting her so much. We're seeing the value diminish. And so she's saying she does not want to go to college. That's not for her. That's not what she want to do. And she's going against the grain. And at first my parents are hesitant. They were fearful for their kid. They want the best for her. But then after they're like, no, she's going to be great. She's very personable. She loves being with people. She loves helping people. So we know she's going to make it. And she hasn't really said to many of her friends yet, so I don't want to dox her by doing that. But I know that many people I know they're going to be like, oh, why aren't you going to college? But she knows that that's not best for her. And I think with the pandemic and everything, I remember it was a couple weeks in and our family was kind of feeling really down by how everything was going. And I just kind of said, all I see is opportunity. And I've been spending all my time reading, all these books here. I'm not done with all of them, but, I was reading a bunch of books. It's something that I've always loved to do. And I'm like, Chris, this is your time. You're not going to bars. You're not getting drunk with your friends. Go read books. Go learn different things. And luckily, I stumbled upon the Bitcoin Standard. I stumbled upon many different books, The Sovereign Individual, all these, not self-help books, but investing. I've always loved investing. And then when I realized, this is all a scam, like the bond market, the stock market, I'm reading all these books, perfect example, Money Masters the Game by Tony Robbins. I still think it's a valuable book, but the information in there is kind of garbage. So it's valuable in the sense that it gives you all these money managers, Warren Buffett's in it, Ray Dalio's in it, all these different managers, and they're saying all these different things. Ray Dalio has the all-weather portfolio. It's 60% bonds, 25% stocks, 7% gold, all these different asset classes, 3% real estate. But then when you come to think of it, you're like, after 2020, this is all garbage. 60% bonds, I'm getting negative interest rates on those. Due to inflation, I'm so thankful for reading it and learning, but I really took what they learned. I'm like, what were they trying to say? What are the messages and how did they come to these conclusions? And then, I was not vindicated, but Ray said a couple months ago, I know he's had varying takes on Bitcoin, but he's like a long-time good bond trader. He's like, I'd rather have Bitcoin than a bond. I'm like, yes, Chris, you thought right in 2020 in June. And not that I needed the validation, but it's I thought correctly. I figured it out.
Yeah, man. So that's what I say. Some people won't leave their old paradigm in this space and they get called out. First of all, there were people in 2016 that were saying, put 1% of your portfolio in Bitcoin. Had people done that, it's 100x since then. Come on, man. No, literally, it has.
I know.
People in 2016, when it was $570, were saying put 1% into it. I mean, I said buy 23 of them, and if you would have done that, you'd be a millionaire right now. But I'm glad there are people like Dalio that are this traditional allotment of your portfolio. People are always asking me what your my crypto portfolio, my financial portfolio is Bitcoin. That's it. The crypto, I hate the name crypto portfolio, okay? Now, I gotta say, I've gotten other things for free over time, so no, it isn't. But I mean, what I have bought with dollars, okay? What have I bought with dollars is Bitcoin. And that is my crypto portfolio. That is I don't own a house anymore. I own Bitcoin instead of owning a house anymore. I mean, that was a major asset. And I really give you all the credit in the world for when people were scared, you said this is opportunity, okay? That's when there's blood in the freaking streets. That is when is the greatest opportunity. And let me tell you, I know people that are watching this who know me, they've heard this story a million times, but I cannot say, how proud I mean, one of my favorite moments of the early panic back in 2020 was March 12th and 13th It was a huge crash of the financial system those 2 days, okay? Huge. Bitcoin went into the 3,000s for a few seconds. And I tweeted it out there. I said it on my show. I spent a little bit over $10,000 combined on 2 Bitcoin, all right? So an average of like $5,100 per Bitcoin. One was below 5,000, one was above 5,000. It was over 2 days. It was over 48 hours because the situation looked really bad on March the 12th, and it got worse for a little bit. But I doubled down on that. I doubled down on that freaking thing. So I ended up with that, and that was it. It's never been that cheap again, okay? And so what's it worth right now? It's worth over $110,000. Over $110,000. I spent $10,000 on March 12th and the 13th. When everyone's scared to go freaking outside, I'm making $100,000 profit late, on paper later. Again, you don't make a profit until you sell it. I haven't sold it. I still own those two things too, of course. So that I saw the opportunity. I was like, this is insane. What's going on? People are overreacting. There is a day after tomorrow. That's what people have to work. That's what people have to remind themselves of. All these doomers and gloomers who dreamt of something like that. They've been having wet dreams their whole lives of a day like that when everyone's locked down, everyone's scared, and they had all their guns and ammo and gold and everything and silver. What did they do on that day? They were crying in their freaking basements. Did they buy Bitcoin that day? Seriously, all those big talkers those days. You talk the talk or you freaking walk the walk. Pound that like button, baby. So that was when you're saying that you saw opportunity, I freaking saw opportunity. And not only did I see it, I freaking, I did it. And there's a lot of have no regrets, people. The opportunity is still out there right now. It's still out there.
For sure. I completely agree. And so, like I said, I didn't buy Bitcoin until June when I really did more research on it. So I was doing something, I've said this a couple times as a mistake, but it's a mistake, but I didn't know it was a mistake. I didn't know it was a mistake. That's why it was one. But then I learned from it, but I actually benefited from it, if that makes sense. So what I was doing is I was trading on Robinhood. I know I don't trade on Robinhood. That's a horrible platform. I bought a little bit of Bitcoin in there, sold that very quickly after learning more about Bitcoin, that you can't self-custody that bad boy. That's worthless. That's might as well, the gold bugs say, always get real gold, don't get paper gold. Well, that's even more apparent and more true with Bitcoin. Yes. So obviously I learned that lesson the hard way, but in Robinhood, my stocks were doing well from like 2017, 2018 in Robinhood, going up, and they had gone up to like a peak or a very high, they're buying up the bond market and all that. And basically I had set stop losses like 4 or 5% below where they had gotten to. So if my stock was at $100, I set a stop loss at $95. So in January of 2020, I watched as my entire portfolio gets liquidated. And I'm like, okay, Chris, what happened? So we hadn't really heard about it in America, but obviously ports in China were closing and things were happening. Like there was delay in shipments. So I watch as my whole portfolio gets liquidated, like across the board, all sold. So I'm like, all right, Chris, before you get back in, what happened? What's going on? I need to figure this out. So then I'm waiting. I'm hearing a little bit of COVID. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. It's a little bit of a flu. You'll be fine, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I saw the panic spread and I was like, oh crap. Like I remember it was the Friday before St. Patrick's Day. And it was me and my girlfriend and all our friends were out and everyone was kind of like, oh, you come Sunday, all the bars are locking down. So it was Saturday. We're like, this is going to be no big deal. It's going to be fine. And then it everyone really locked down for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And then that's when I saw, obviously, Bill Ackman goes on CNBC or Mad Money or whatever it is. And he's like crying like, oh my God, there's going to be blood in the streets. And I watch as he basically, shorted the market, everything tanked. And then that's kind of when I was like probably mid-April, end of April, I started putting my money back into stocks that I thought that like had gone too much down in value. I started buying them like Penn National Gaming because of their I love Barstool or various companies like that. And all of a sudden I watch as like by June 1st, by middle of May or June 1st, I was all back in and I watched as my money went tick off. And I'm like, okay, why did this happen? How did this happen? Like everything, there should be blood in the streets. There's so much panic. How are businesses making more money, but no one's working? Like this makes no sense. And then very shortly into June, I'm like, oh, this Bitcoin thing. And I buy a little bit of that. I'm like, oh, well, that was down around $3,000. Like you said, it's now hovering around 7,000, 9,000. So I'm like, oh, that 300X, if you bought at 3,000, it's like 9,000, 10,000. That's like 300, 350. I'm like, that did way better than my stock. So obviously the volatility attracted me at first. But then I was like, no, maybe there's more to this. So obviously I bought it on Robinhood, mistake. Then I very quickly realized like I need to sell this crap because I can't self-custody it. And then that's really when I went down the rabbit hole of, I did read Andy, why we buy Bitcoin, the Bitcoin Standard, Sovereign Individual, a bunch of different books basically describing the importance of Bitcoin, why you should buy Bitcoin. I started listening to, and that was the other two things. So Preston Pish and We Study Billionaires, they always do a mastermind talk. They always do them every quarter. So they normally do them April, July, October, and then end of the year or January. So he said, oh, buy Bitcoin. And I literally had my old Fiat brain on of like, no, that's a Ponzi scheme. That's tulip mania. That's not a real thing. Then in June, he said, my pick's still the same, buy Bitcoin. And that's what I'm like, shit, Chris, what are you missing? Because Preston Pish, a guy I really respect, I disagreed with his stance. I'm missing something. The guy that recommended 2 things in a row, which had never been done for on the show. You know, one time they'd recommend Google in 2016. They'd recommend Google again in 2019. That's a 3-year window. It's like, okay, it's still a good stock to buy. He recommended Bitcoin in back-to-back episodes. I've never heard that for any stock, real estate, anything. I'm like, okay, Chris, you need to dig in. And then that's really when I dug in. And then that's ultimately led me down this path of, you know, buying into it, being a Bitcoin OG. And I'm finding different things to liquidate to get more Bitcoin at this point.
That's awesome. I mean, you didn't trust him. You did learn on your own. He was the spark. You had sparks that made you learn more, and you learned the right way. You did it. Pete, you were not a blind follower. You put it all together. You comprehended it. Most people, they just want it spoon-fed to them. They don't want to learn. They don't want to learn anything.
And it's funny. I could have went the spoon-fed route, but I disagreed with him at first, which actually helped with my conviction. Then I'm like, why did you say no in April? But now it's like he said it again in July or June or whenever it was. He said it again, like, why I should go back and do that. I should buy it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So that's really what made me dig in and do the research. And you
make a really great point. People cannot just watch the people they agree with 100%. Most people do that. They hear a person like only agree with them 90%. They drop them. They drop them. It's good to get voices that are against. Well, I listen to people that are against Bitcoin all the time, or not as hardcore about it, or who clearly do not grasp it. And it's good to get their perspective on it. And if you can critically say, you know, why they're wrong, it makes your hand even stronger, man. And it shows that you're an intelligent individual, that you can put up with someone that you don't agree with 100% of the time. Because now in this cancel culture world, people just dump people like that. If they say one little thing, they're like, I'm not gonna listen to them anymore. I'm not gonna learn from. They were giving me good advice. I was learning from them. They said something I didn't like. I'm not gonna do it anymore. So yeah, you're never gonna agree with somebody 100%, but you can gain some. I mean, Vinny Laham is a guy in the space. I don't agree with him 100% on a lot of stuff, especially lately. But dude, I got some great nuggets from him in 2016 that really made my hand strong and gave me a great conviction.
For sure. And I mean, I even try and do it with politics, but we've gotten to the point now where politics is all just brain rot, and they're just like 2 sides of the same coin. You know, their goal is to spend more money, tax their recipients more. They have all these loopholes that they get to do all the benefits, and, you know, yeah, you can take advantage of them, but obviously they put them in for themselves, or even like they're masters of who funds their campaigns, who helps them get reelected, who gives them money. And the reason that they're able to do that is because of fiat. If this was Bitcoin and people were actually honest, we're starting to see the inklings of politicians agree with it. I know they seem to be on the more conservative side, and, you know, they want to pander to the masses. I definitely see that. And, you know, I'm always, with all politicians, I take them with a side of caution. There are a few that I do like. And there's even like you said, it's always good to get the opposite opinion, to be like, why are they upset? Why do they think this is the right idea? Why do they think that they're right compared to you being wrong? And I think that's good for anything. It's Bitcoin and politics and anything.
I think a lot of times when you go down that why rabbit hole, you see it's at the bottom of it, and it's not that deep. It's a personal, you know, they have a personal investment in something, the opposite. You know, it would hurt them financially if Bitcoin did well, or it would hurt them politically. They would lose for some reason, you know, a big backer. I mean, there's a guy in California, I forgot, he's a big hater of Bitcoin, and he doesn't make any he's on the left, but he doesn't hide anything. He's totally funded by the banks and everything like that.
I forget his name is.
He's in Southern California. I forgot his name too. I'm still
trying to think about glasses.
Yeah. But there are people on the left that do see this is good for poor people, and there are people that aren't known very well, that don't hold office right now, who are trying to get office, that are on the left. I just read about a woman in California who's running against that guy, Brad Sherman. Is that his name? Is his name Brad or?
Brad Sherman, and her name's I don't want to say. I think it's Anika. Or,
she's on. So she's on. They're both Democrats, but she likes Bitcoin and she has no shame about it. She's like, what's wrong with a Democrat like Bitcoin? And all these mindless animals freaking on Twitter, like, oh, it's a libertarian this. I mean, they're like a Pavlov's dog. They just react without thinking. It's unbelievable. They attack this woman, and there's no reason. No. Anyone can be in Bitcoin. People don't get. But the thing is, most people, the 80%ers out there, the majority of people just think everything's left or right. It's if you're not on my team, to be on my team, you have to believe X, Y, and Z. So if you believe something that maybe someone on the other team likes, you are a Nazi. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's totally unbelievable.
And I know my buddies have joked before, like, what are paradoxes? That you believe in one thing, but you believe the counter argument, whether it's like abortion, but you like gun rights, or, you know, whatever it may be. It's like, you can't be in both camps. It's like we push them, either you're the column A or column B. And that's not true with many people. It's like, you can like vanilla and chocolate. You don't have to just like vanilla or just like chocolate. That's life. You know what I mean? That
is life, but some people have forgotten that. But a lot of outspoken people have forgotten that, and they try to cancel you, and they try to shame you for how dare you have a position that Ted Cruz likes. Ted Cruz likes Bitcoin, so you must be just like Ted Cruz. And by the way, Ted Cruz, he has said some very smart things about Bitcoin recently. I've been impressed. I had no idea that was going to happen. I mean, we all knew about Cynthia Loomis and everything. But I mean, there's a big difference between the senator from Wyoming and the senator from Texas. Huge difference.
Yeah.
But they, in terms of, I mean, they have an equal vote, but you know, what he can do nationally, what she can do nationally. Some people are like, she's going to become president. No, she's not going to become president. She's from Wyoming. He is from Texas. There are some things out there. He could still become. I think he should become vice president. I think anyway, don't worry about politics, people. It's a waste of time. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing DeSantis Cruz in 2024. But that's a minor thing. If you start worrying about that stuff, you start wasting your time on it. You really do. Bitcoin doesn't need Ted Cruz. Bitcoin doesn't need Cynthia Loomis. Bitcoin doesn't need the mayor of Miami. Okay. It's going to do fine without.
And Adam, it doesn't even need both of us. We could both, vilify it, hate it. We could sell it tomorrow because something happened, a brain issue or whatever. We go crazy, and Bitcoin will be fine without both of us. We're just kind of nodes on the network, as I always say.
I forgot what the name of this animal is. It's the apex predator. It's the what's it called? The honey badger. Honey badger. How can I forget that? I mean. So this is the Coinbase honey badger, but yeah, honey badger, the Bitcoin honey badger Bitcoin is the apex predator out there. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. You understand all that. A lot of people don't understand that. And to this very day, I tell people, don't keep your Bitcoin on Coinbase. And they're like, but it's safe there. What can happen? It's so confiscatable.
Mt. Gox was safe in 2013.
But let's say Coinbase never gets hacked. I believe Coinbase won't get hacked. But guess what can happen? If the government says we don't like this guy anymore, give us their money, give us their Bitcoin. 1 second doesn't take much. Or if you all of a sudden you get into you have a wife and she wants to divorce you, and her lawyer says the Coinbase confiscate. That's it. I mean, it's the unconfiscate. People don't grasp unconfiscatable. They think just like life goes along smoothly, nothing bad. You'll never get put on a bad list. I mean, right? I mean, there are a bunch of people on Twitter right now that think people that don't get a needle in their arm shouldn't be able to leave their state, shouldn't be able to leave their house, shouldn't be able to fly on a plane. So, the government is capable. I mean, the government is capable of all sorts of financial confiscation when you're not holding your asset. Okay, they can take your house, they can take your gold, and they can take, if your Bitcoin's at Coinbase, take it in 1 second. If they call you, well, yeah, you were awake on January 6th, so you must have been in DC, so we're gonna shut down your Coinbase account and take all your Bitcoin. I mean, the things they can do, that's why you control your own private key. No, that is the ultimate. But I would say most people that are in Bitcoin right now do not properly store their Bitcoin. I mean, it's probably an overwhelming amount. Have it at Coinbase or worse, or much worse. They don't get that aspect of what's going on in the world today.
I went down the rabbit hole, I guess, quick or slow. I felt like I was going like molasses, and I couldn't learn enough. I did it with cold card. I had a ledger. I'm like, I don't really trust ledger. I did a cold card. I built my own node. So, and now I I help build nodes for people. We actually offer a service to build. If you don't feel like doing it yourself, I'll build it, send it to you. You check it before plugging it in. Like there's no sensors, or at least don't trust verify that I didn't put any sensors that have your code or anything. But yeah, no, I believe in helping people put nodes. I look at myself as like, what routers and modems are to people's homes for internet and cable boxes and TV. That's what the node is, but just for all your wealth. So it's that much more important. Like, yeah, the internet's important. A lot of people would agree with that. Oh yeah, getting cable TV, cut the cord. Okay, it's maybe less important, but running your own node, verifying with your own certainty that not someone else, not some trusted third party, I think that's invaluable. And it takes time for people to understand that. It's a difficult concept to grasp, and it's something that you need to wake up to. It's almost, we always talk about Bitcoin and waking up and coming to, seeing the matrix for what it is, but that's really what it is, basically.
Yeah, I give you all the credit in the world for setting up your own node in 15 months. You've only been in this space 15. I mean, it's great. It's great. That's really awesome. You've got the tech background too. I mean, it's not an easy thing. But I also give you credit for being an entrepreneur, making your own freaking show, making your own freaking business where you set up nodes for people. That's the opportunity that's out there. I mean, because everyone needs help in this space. And I mean, I was since 2016, I was helping people set up their trezors. Okay, I would they originally in 2016 they would send me 0.2 Bitcoin to set up their trezor, and of course I never sold the 0.2 Bitcoin. All the people sent me. That's what it was. It was like it was $160 an hour. I mean, instead they would send 0.2 Bitcoin. I didn't. I value, that's all I wanted. I didn't want $160 an hour. I wanted 0.2 Bitcoin. And I knew I was going to save it. But that opportunity is still out there. You could be a consultant, people. You could help people set up their trezors. You could help people do anything in this darn space, okay? And the other thing, the people out there, if you're a young person, all these founders of companies, these big names, they need help. Send them a DM on Twitter and tell them how you can help them. They'll pay you. I mean, it's out there. The opportunity is out there. Jump on it. We're in the freaking golden age, baby.
Yeah, and I agree to your sentiment. Like when you were like, oh, you felt like you missed the internet era. I know there's always the Motley Fool or whatever it is. It's like, oh, you could have bought Amazon at $3.19. Buy our course about what we buy. And it's like, no, I found the next thing. And, my conviction of like, I even said to myself, I'm like, okay, if Bitcoin gets to 500,000, will I sell? No. Do I get to 1 million? No. Will I get to 5 million? Will I sell? No, probably not. Like, it's like, I really see what this is going to become. If this is going to become the base layer money, I still think investing is valuable, and that's still why I start off as an investing podcast. I just think investing is going to be denominated with Bitcoin one day, but until I see Bitcoin as like, you can't really get that much more. It's like we've reached the peak and now you're trading it for goods and services. That's when, okay, maybe the discounted cash flow using Bitcoin instead of a fiat dollar might make more sense for your investing strategy or whatever.
You bring up an interesting topic. And as you know, I'm like the biggest Bitcoin freaking fan in the world, dude. And it's been very good to me, very, very good to me. But I still think that people are so mindless out there. You've seen how people bow down to authority. Easily during the last 1.5 years. The dollar isn't going to go anywhere. They'll still, the majority of people still value their wealth in dollars. I don't know if it'll be the base layer. It'll be the base layer for the smart people. It'll be something to opt into. But most people will stick with Fedcoin. People will love their negative interest rate Fedcoin. They will think it's a good thing. I've come up with the term happyflation, that I predicted inflation, and that the media and the government would say is good, and people would say it's good, and they would call it happyflation. And right now, people are like, oh, it's good. Look, print up more money. Happy. We're all happy. It's happy inflation. They don't think it's a bad. Oh no, it's temporary. It's transitory. It's good. It's this. It's that. It's the other. But some people they don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype, and they have gotten into Bitcoin. So that off-ramp, that on-ramp into glory will always be there. And the majority of people won't take it. They will gladly be slaves to fit in. They will gladly take negative interest. There will be such convenience with their Fedcoin. I mean, you'll be able to get into the movies with the discount. You'll be able to visit if you want to visit your politician, you'll be able to lick their toes for free or something. I don't know. There'll be all these benefits that you'll get with your Fedcoin that Bitcoin will not provide. It won't provide the fiat benefits. But you said beforehand, the government is able to do what they're doing because of the fiat standard, and we should. If society was better, there would be separation of state and money. There is not going to be separation of state and money. There is not. But Bitcoin is separation of state and money. It is a stateless, but there's still going to be the dollar. And let me tell you, I've traveled around this world, and I've seen the United States is still a beacon of hope, okay? Bad things are going on in the United States. It's worse everywhere else because we have 50 different states. It's 50 different experiments. Some are pretty disgraceful right now, but others are leading the way of freedom. We are speaking up against all this tyranny that's going on more than any country. And so even though the printing of the dollar is insane, what the country that it stands for, the people that it stands for, is the best. And people still want it more. I mean, I remember when I was in Argentina, you could pay people in dollars, okay? And Argentina isn't the worst of the worst of countries. It's pretty civilized and everything. It's a good time. But I mean, right now, most countries, Australia people want out of freaking Australia. If you would have told me that in 2019, when I was in Adelaide having a great time, I would have said, no, well, why would people want out of it? It's basically the same as the United States, but it's not. And so we've got the best fiat out there. We got the best country out there, and thus we have the best fiat. Not that I encourage people. So the world is addicted to the United States dollar. It is going to stay the world reserve currency, I believe. I do not think Bitcoin will become the world reserve currency. And I partially think one of the reasons that the United States dollar will stay as the world reserve currency is because of the freedom that Bitcoin gives other United States citizens, that we have this freedom. I mean, so there's a little bit of an irony here that, the Bitcoin country, the capital of the Bitcoin world is the United States. It is. I've seen it. I've been everywhere. People have tried to say it was China. What a joke. What a joke that it was China. Just because the miners were there. Look how quickly that changes when you have an authoritarian regime like that, okay? So, yeah, of all the places I've been to, and I've been to a lot of places, Bitcoin it's not that many people in the United States have it, but percentage-wise, more so than in any country. And it's not, some countries might have better policies toward it, but the state by state, I mean, Wyoming has a great policy toward it. Some states have bad policies toward it, but we've got a lot of different options. Thank God we have the federalist system. And if you want to worry about politics, if they ever try to get rid of all 50 states and just nationalize everything, yeah, then you fight. Okay, that's a line that cannot be crossed. So bottom line is, we got the dollar. I don't think the dollar is going anywhere. And to say that, you could still be the biggest Bitcoin fan in the world, and you could still think Bitcoin can be great, and the fiat, the dollar world can still exist. I do think once we have these Fed coins, that some of these other countries that print their own currency, they're not going to be able to do it anymore. Like all the third world countries, they're not going to be able to pull it off. They're all going to have to choose which country they're slaves.
Like dollarized, basically.
Yeah, they're going to have to be slaves. Which Fed coin they're going to be slaves to the United States Fed coin, Japanese Fed coin, China Fed coin. And probably most of them will choose China Fed coin because they will be so in debt to China because of all the road initiatives they've signed on.
Yeah, the Belt and Road.
All the African countries have. I mean, when I was in Mozambique, the Chinese built the airport for them. When you're in Zimbabwe, they own the farms. They've already, so once the corrupt dictators can't pay the Chinese back, which they already can't, then they'll say, okay, you don't have, instead of paying us back, just use our currency now. Use our Fed coin. And whatever. So yeah, most will choose Chinese Fed coin, which is unfortunate. Well, not choose, we'll be forced to. But again, even in Zimbabwe, when they become servants to the Chinese Fed coin, which should be in the next 5 years, they'll still be able to have Bitcoin if they want to. I mean, you no matter what country you're in, as long as you got an internet connection, you will be able to get Bitcoin. But if you're watching this in one of those countries where you're going to be stuck with the Chinese Fed coin, and you know who you are, just get Bitcoin now, so it'll be a little bit easier when your financial slavery starts to the Chinese Fed coin. That would be my advice. And
yeah. I agree. I mean, us being both Bitcoin maximalists and really thinking that the importance of Bitcoin. I know I had Greg Foss on last week. He's like, your fiat dollars are your checking account. They're to pay your bills, whatever it may be, to do your thing. Your Bitcoin is your savings account. And your goal is to never tap into your savings account. So that's kind of what the goal of it is. I always keep both of these on my desk. They are replicas of the Zimbabwe federal note. That's $100 trillion. I got a gold one and a silver one. Just to remind myself, that's what all fiat currencies go to. I just want to say I've been there. So I got to talk to the people. I got to see
yeah, to see what happens. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And I think a thing that I've been doing a lot of my reading, I still need to read The Creature from Jekyll Island, which probably explains a lot better. But basically what I've learned is that the reason that we do see inflation in the United States, we're seeing it more so because we printed, quite literally trillions of dollars in the last 18 months, 15 months, whatever it is. I lose track now. And we're thinking of trying to print another at least, 4.7 trillion plus. And we're going to keep going. That like everyone's like, oh, well, inflation is not that bad in the United States. And that's true because we get the benefit of being the world reserve currency that we push our currency to other countries. So then they're having hyperinflating of their currencies, it collapses, and then they adapt the US dollar. So now they're taking dollars out of our system. So we're seeing less collapse in us. But it's going to be at the end of the day when the United States and China are like, why is everyone countries hyperinflated? It's like, it's because of us, dummy. Like, it's because of the US and because of the Chinese. And the Chinese, obviously, giving a little bit of history to my listeners, probably around 2014, 2016, they realized that buying equities was not in their best interest. They were basically giving the United States the power, and we had the ability to make more shares, divert their shares, do all this. So then exactly what we said, the Belt and Road Initiative, they started taking US dollars for goods. So they'd ship us goods, that we'd ship them US dollars. They know that our dollars were worthless. They were smart enough to know that. So then they shipped them to other countries for either power, money, buildings, or basically to fiat. They're basically the fiat masters of being a fiat slave, basically. So they're doing our bidding by pushing it further into the world. And, you and I both know that. And people really haven't waken up to that yet. They hear the CPI number, which is like the biggest joke in the world. I can't believe everyone agrees with it. I've gotten in arguments on Twitter to the point where I had to put my phone down because I'm like, the person's like, oh, well, the CPI is this. I'm like, oh, well, what about the Chapwood index? What about this index? They're like, those are fake indexes. I'm like, okay, well, then let's just take what Clinton's been doing. Since Clinton, let's take, a pound of beef, a pound of this, a mortgage price. It's now rent. It's not beef. It's chicken. It's, it's not a gallon of gas. Or it's not a barrel of gasoline. It's a gallon of gasoline. Like they keep bringing the numbers. Yeah. If you manipulate the numbers, you can make anything look good. I mean, yeah. Bill Gates even had a book called How to Lie About Statistics, which I caught flack for saying about that. But it's true. Like that, the truth hurts.
Yes, it does. And I don't know why people become so addicted to the CPI, defend it. I mean, it's a completely corrupt us. I mean, it's been manipulated many times. What they throw in and take out of it. The government, don't believe government numbers, people. I mean, I think
another point is too, like, I'm like, oh, they've been like, since as long as I've been alive, they've been manipulating it under Clinton. So they immediately hear that. They hear me disrespecting a Democrat. And then they're like, oh my God, you can't do that. But I'm like, no, like time out. It's not just him. It was Bush Sr., it was Clinton, it was Bush Jr., it was Obama, it was Trump. We're doing it under Biden. Like, it's like, don't you see? They're the same coin, like different sides of the same coin. Like, I'm not criticizing one. I'm trying to equally criticize them. And people just can't comprehend that. They hear disrespecting their political beliefs or religious beliefs or whatever. And it's like, no, like, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm trying to attack the idea and what's going on here. And I think that gets lost. People just really get on the offensive. They get really angry. And it's like, yeah, it's
tribal. And again, social media has made people more tribal. This last 1.5 years, people become more tribal. That's why I say, be a unique beast. Individualism is the accomplishment. Collectivism is the default. Remember that. To be an individual is something to. It's easy just to be part of the mob and be part of the Borg and be part of a tribe. If you to be an individual, to mix and match, to think, and that is the accomplishment in life.
All right, so I got probably 2 more questions, and I got the final wrap up. Adam, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on. This is a great conversation, and I hope this is a relationship that'll blossom, that we can meet in person one day.
Dude, I gotta get you on the show too. I'll get you on the show. You'll be one of my guests on the panel. You gotta make an appearance on the This Week in Bitcoin.
I would love to. I think that'd be awesome. So I guess my last 2 questions before I begin my rapid questions. So I saw on your profile when I was reading on CoinBeast, and obviously Adam is a pro for CoinBeast. That'll be in the promotion in the beginning of the video when I clip this all together. So if you want to listen to his brilliant advice more, he's willing to charge a fee for that in fiat and or Bitcoin, probably a lot less than 0.2 Bitcoin at this rate for his fee. So I guess you could see it as a discount in Bitcoin terms. So my one question is, I saw that you had crypto dividends in there, and I think I caught from the Bitcoin matrix that you had there. When I see crypto dividends, I'm like, oh no, he's a shit coiner. That's what someone would think. So I think I know where you're going to go with this, but please explain what you mean by that.
Oh, crypto dividends, what I came up with. You were not around in 2016 and 2017. during the block size debate.
Yep.
A lot of people weren't. So let me give you, Roger Ver was the biggest hero in Bitcoin, the biggest name, bigger than anyone, bigger than Michael Saylor is now. Roger Ver was the ultimate in 2016. And toward the end, he starts talking about this block size thing and how he thinks the block size should increase. And people let him talk and talk and talk in the 2017. And he started getting really serious about it. And people really gave him a platform. I let him be on my show, and you could watch our talk. And in the long run, I was right, but he's very convincing the way he, very persuasive. And what he decided, and Jihan Wu decided, a big miner out in China, decided that they were going to make their own Bitcoin, that they couldn't increase the block size of Bitcoin, so they made something called Bcash. I don't even call it what they call it. I refuse to say it. And people were worried. I have a show before they made the announcement. It was St. Patrick's Day 2017. Go to my archives, watch the show. It ended up being 2 hours. It was probably the best show I've ever done, where you could see people were worried about what was about to happen. That there was going to be a split of Bitcoin. Now the split did not happen until August the 1st of 2017. And people did not understand what the heck. People were so worried. What's going to be the real Bitcoin? And all that. I knew what the real Bitcoin was going to be, but still, there was a lot of confusion. And shortly after that, I said, "Wait a second, we got a free coin because of this. This dude, we just made 10%, 20%, whatever we made. This is a crypto dividend. This is great. This is, these forks." This was an unfriendly fork, but other people can do friendly forks. I hope if people want to make altcoins, they should just fork it off. And the next time someone tries to attack Bitcoin this way, we shouldn't panic like we panicked in March, and people were still panicking in August at that point. And there was still one scheduled called Bitcoin 2X or SegWit 2X. SegWit 2X was still scheduled. I was like, bring it freaking on. If we can get 5%, it's just a crypto dividend. It's a one-time interest payment on our Bitcoin. So I just came up with that term, crypto dividend. And that's all it is when someone unfriendly or friendly, if you control and it encourages people to control their private key. And people always say, well, Bitcoin is not it doesn't generate any income. It's just a stagnant asset. No. It does generate interest through the crypto dividend process. When these schmoes try to be good schmoes or bad schmoes, and when I broke the story, the next crypto dividend after Bcash was B Gold. I broke that story, and B Gold is still a top 100 altcoin, whatever, but it paid pretty dark. People made a lot of money off of that too. And what are you going to do? Are you not going to claim it? Are you not going to, you don't buy, and that's where one of my sayings originated. You don't buy what you get for free. You don't buy what you get for free. You don't buy Bcash. You don't buy B Gold. You get it as interest. So there was a time in late 2017, we were getting all this stuff, and there have been airdrops since then, an airdrop, a fork, whatever you want to call it. It is a crypto dividend. If they're going to give it to me for free, I'm going to turn that thing and get more Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is an income generating asset through the crypto dividend process. Most people do not know that still. Most people, unfortunately, there are people that are part of the Bitcoin Inquisition. They hear what I just said. They go crazy. How can you talk about an altcoin? No, dude, I'm talking about it. I know that I'm a realist. I know they're going to exist. I know people are going to create them. Why not? If they're going to create them, they should just give it to all of them. When they create one, just give it to us for free. We're the best holders out there. They can use us for marketing, whatever they think they're doing. What we're going to do is we get their free coin, we turn it into Bitcoin. We get interest on our Bitcoin. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. So I just say let them keep doing what they're going to do. Altcoiners, you keep making your altcoins, give it to us for free. Just do that. Just airdrop it. It's been successful for some of them. It's been successful for some of them in the past, or whatever you define success as, and pump and dump or whatever it is. But yeah, but never buy those things. Never. No. You don't buy what you get for free. You don't buy what you get for free.
And for my listeners, so obviously Bitcoin's a public ledger. So what's basically happening is when they're forking, whether it's a hard fork or an airdrop, what they do is they copy the Bitcoin ledger or code, or all the addresses, and they basically copy the Excel sheet is the best way to describe it. They then copy it, change the rules of what that Excel sheet is, and then they send them to the addresses for free. That's exactly what Adam's referring to, the airdrop. They send it to your address of, hey, you now have Bitcoin and you now have B Cash or B Gold or B Glitter or B whatever, or
B Diamond. I mean, there's still Hex. Hex was an airdrop. Hex, which is we're not going to talk about that, but that was something we all got for free also. Yeah, I mean, it's people don't. It's nice that you explained it to the audience, but I forget. Most people were not around in 2017 during the height of that insanity. But I do want to warn people, and I've said this on my show before. That was a big 2017. The original crypto dividend was attacking a supposed weakness of Bitcoin. So what's going to happen eventually? Someone will try to create an ESG Bitcoin, an environmentally friendly Bitcoin, and say it's the real Bitcoin, or a 42 million Bitcoin, saying, oh, it's unfair. Only rich people got Bitcoin. We need to have a 42 million Bitcoin and distribute it fairly to the people. So they will fork off Bitcoin and say they have the real Bitcoin. This will happen again. So people have to prepare themselves for that, and just to be happy when people want to create. If people want to make up lies that the Bitcoin destroys the environment and they're going to make a bloodless Bitcoin. I mean, there's that one coin that the guy that said Bitcoin was the blood coin. So, okay, that Canadian guy, the famous Canadian, he's got his own TV show, Mr. Wonderful.
Kevin O'Leary.
For me, there's only one Mr. Wonderful. That was Paul Orndorff. Rest in peace. But I think he's gone. But yeah, the other Mr. Wonderful, yeah, he called Bitcoin a blood coin. Okay, then make your green Bitcoin and try to pretend it's Bitcoin and give it to us for free so we can trade it in for the real Bitcoin. Something like that is going to happen again, people. It is probably during this cycle. I cannot predict when, but it'll happen again. People just have to be ready for things like that. That's the thing. If you don't like Bitcoin, fork off. That's the beauty of this. That's the beauty of the situation. If you, instead of complaining on Twitter all day, okay, fork off. Make your own Bitcoin. Let the public decide what the real Bitcoin is. But again, the bottom line is the Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin.
For sure. All right, so I have the receipt that you forwarded me before this episode in preparation from May 30th, 2016, where you told a good friend of yours, or at least a friend of yours. I don't know if he remains close in your life or not.
Yeah, he does. Don't say his name though, but he does remain close.
No, yeah, I won't dox him like that. But he's like, and this is from Adam's side, saying to his friend, if you have any cash just sitting around in the bank, then I strongly encourage you to spend a quarter of it on Bitcoin. Then do not worry about the Bitcoin during price fluctuations. Never panic, in bold. And check out how much it is worth in 2020. I'm staring at this email in my inbox so I can refer to it in the future. What?
Starring it. I'm starring this email. Right?
Oh, he's starring this email in the outbox so I can refer to it in the future and either say, I told you so, or aren't you glad you did that? So he was very bullish back then, very confident back then. And just for price, for people listening, price in May of 2016 was $666, so $666. Price in May of 2020 was $9,671. Price as of today is somewhere around $57,000. So a price appreciation from that time of $666 to around $57.
Wasn't I a good friend? I told my friend. I mean, again, I just found this email, so I starred it, but I never checked my old starred sent emails until the other day. So I didn't check it in 2020. I didn't check it until 2021. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I told him so. It said either going to say, I told you so, or
aren't I glad I told you to do it? Yeah.
But anyway, he never did it. He does own, he owns some now a little bit. But no, he didn't do it, but he is my friend still. And he's not bitter about it or anything like that. Not at all. That's awesome. But I had told him in 2013 also. Not just, I told him, I mean, I got written proof. May the 30th, 2016 there, that email was from. So yeah, I've had a strong, and yeah, I wasn't just talking the talk. I obviously converted more than a quarter of my money to Bitcoin. I had already done that at that point. So yeah, whatever. It's that's life. But no regrets. You can still get it now, but I am proud of the fact that I've been telling people to get hardcore into Bitcoin for years and years and years. I mean, to a point, I was telling people to get into it when they weren't even dreaming of it. I mean, we got kids now that are like 21 years old that are big Bitcoin. How old is Jack now? There's like 23 or something. How old is he?
27, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I mean, there are some really young dudes. That, I mean, they might have been like teenagers, 12 years old when started talking about it. But it's just, it is, you said it best. Treat it as a savings account. I've said that it is a newfangled savings account for this golden age that we're living. And that's all I've treated it as. And I mean, study every 210,000 blocks, baby. You could subtract any moment in time, go back 210,000 blocks. It's worth more than it was then. In terms of, that's a 210,000 block. So today, you buy it today in 210,000 blocks. In 2025, in August of 2025, it'll be worth more if the pattern continues, and it probably will.
Yeah, and I think I'll leave on this one last quote that American Hodl said probably back in either January or February. He said, altcoiners or shitcoiners love Bitcoin too. They just love your Bitcoin. So that's what I always think when I'm trying to buy more Bitcoin. I'm like, the last thing you want to do is buy an altcoin, because the next what they could do right behind you is buy Bitcoin or buy what you should have bought as Bitcoin. I think that's very good advice. And, if you don't get it, I suggest that you do more research, because it's very important. All right. So Adam, thank you so much. I have 3 more questions for wrap up, kind of real quick, and then I'll let you get going. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.
Sure.
So it's a pleasure having you on. I guess before you go, what's the biggest investment or business mistake you've ever made?
The biggest
investing or business mistake?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, I invested into a bar. I became behind the scenes owner of a bar in Baltimore. Before I got into Bitcoin, it was right before I got into Bitcoin, and I lost the entire investment. It was just, I thought it was cool. I loved going to bars. I was friends with the guy and everything. That was a big one. And I would advise people and I know something other people say, which I could have, if I hadn't made that mistake, I probably would have invested, in a friend's Bitcoin business or something like that. There were a lot of OGs like me who invested, instead of just holding onto their Bitcoin, they gave half their Bitcoin to their buddy who was going to make Bitcoin the biggest thing in Africa. So that was big in 2013 and 14, like starting Bitcoin businesses in Africa or something like that. And the people gave up half their Bitcoin. And that was really bad. So I consider myself lucky, but I didn't give up any Bitcoin for that business, but I gave up some fiat that I eventually could have spent on Bitcoin, but it still worked out. So definitely investing in a bar. Do not invest in bars, people. Do not. They are very, especially now.
The margins are insane, like so paper thin, and especially with everything going on.
You have to be, if you want to run a successful bar, you got to be like selling illegal cigarettes or out there, be involved in drugs or be involved with underage people, letting 19 years olds in. It's sad. It's sad because of the regulation. The regulation destroys the profit margin completely. It's horrible.
And that's the thing that's so sad. It's like we're seeing I don't want to say the collapse, because I really do think this show is going to go on for a much longer than people expect. But it's like, just with money collapsing, people have to do irrational things or unrealistic things to try and make ends meet. And exactly like you said, do things that could be seen as immoral, basically, because of regulation and all of that. I guess next question. What's your favorite book, podcast, YouTube channel, or website that you like to go to for information? Not yours. I'll let you pitch that at the end. So.
Well, this is the thing. I want to tell you, I want to take a little bit of a different approach, because what I would say for the best information is that the people that I have on my show, I go to their Twitter feeds, or people that have been on my show in the past, like Nick Carter, Adam Meister. There are all these people that I constantly, but I treat their Twitter feeds. There are a bunch of people, Vinny Lingham, Tone Vase. I don't agree with all these people all the time either. I treat their Twitter feeds like web pages. So I try to visit them at Matt Odell's. I try to visit them, almost every day. So treat some of the smart peoples in the space, treat their Twitter feeds as web pages and read them, okay, as web pages. Don't try to argue with people on Twitter. That's where. So if you find a smart person on Twitter, don't let it be fed to you by Twitter, because you're an algorithm slave. If I never check my feed, I just use Twitter as web pages. But
that's smart. I like that.
Yeah, but another thing that I like to do, there are people that I listen to and read that aren't the biggest fans of Bitcoin, and I want to talk about them a little bit. I mean, Yaron Brook is a guy who's an objectivist. Ayn Rand. He doesn't like Bitcoin that much, but he's a smart guy. He's gotten me into the freedom aspect of life a lot more, and opened my mind more conceptually to private property, the importance of private property, the importance of individualism, and the horrible aspects of being part of a cult or what's tribalism. Yaron Brook is a great guy, but he, at the same time, he's very naive about Bitcoin, and it gives you a very interesting perspective. Carl Denninger at Market Ticker, he talks, I don't know if you know, you might know him. A lot of people know him. He can get on the doom side of things sometimes, and he's been predicting the end for a while, but he's somewhat positive. He hates Bitcoin, but he's a smart guy. So you learn from him. So those are financial guys that don't have anything really to do with Bitcoin, but I like going to their sites, and I just want to show people out there that you don't have to just do Bitcoin stuff all day. But I do read a lot of Bitcoin stuff, and it is basically treating the Bitcoin Twitter people as web pages, the main ones. And I could go again. You go to techbalt.com, techbalt.com. You can see every This Week in Bitcoin show I've ever had, and thus every This Week in Bitcoin guest I've ever had. And thus, if you actually click on the notes below the show, which so few people do, and click on their Twitters, you'll see it. That's another thing that I advise people. Just don't, there's so many people that they think, oh man, I just listened to the most complicated technical Bitcoin podcast ever. Did you actually understand it? No, is usually the question. Try to understand what you're watching and try to interact with it. And if there's a guest on there, then go to the guest page. Go Google the guest. Usually the link below there'll be links below on the YouTube that I always provide the links, okay? Click on the links below. It's do your homework afterwards. After the class, do your homework. So few people do that. So few people just think they're smarter because they sort of paid attention to something they didn't really understand. Make sure you're understanding it. You know what? You're completely wasting your time if you're a non-technical person and you're learning like some weird technical aspects of Lightning that you don't get. It's better just to click on some links of people that you do understand and learn more from them.
Yeah. Once again, Adam, thank you so much for your time. If someone wants to learn more about you or your businesses or your business ventures, where would they go to find out more?
Yeah, just disruptmeister.com. You can watch all 2,000 of my YouTube videos I've been involved in. Go to Twitter, TECHBALT. I'm tweeting out all sorts of stuff all day. It's not just Bitcoin. It's current events, freedom. Because that's another thing that there's been some trying times for people, but for me, it's been a freaking awesome 1.5 years, and it's just shown me that I can walk the walk during dip, and I can stand for what I've always stood for, being a unique beast. I don't have to fit into what the party line is saying, and that is what you will get from me on my YouTube channel, on my Twitter feed, on everything. Google Adam Meister. If you're a 20%er, you're going to be able to find me. If you're an 80%er, you're just picking your nose and not going to find me, and you don't deserve to find me. So anyway, pound out like it's been a great time. We really had a great
yeah,
show.
We did a good hour and a half, it seems, or an hour and 15. So Adam, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. As always, everyone, you can go to the amateurinvestors.com or amateurinvestors.squarespace.com. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, you name it. Have a good one, everyone. Catch you later.
All righty. Awesome.